Young, energetic voices of aspiring journalists.
I want to be the voice for gender advocacy in newsrooms.
Everything I do before I pick my pen, before I set out and say, okay, let me go to field, I ask myself, what is the public interest?
They have beautiful stories to tell about their exploits as student journalists on Nigerian campuses. But their journey into practice didn't start today.
The Campus Reporters Project was definitely a game changer for me, career-wise, and I just hope many more students will be able to benefit from it going forward.
Without that Campus Reporters Project, I don't know where I'll be today, but then I am very glad I was introduced to it, and then right now I can practice my journalism.
He started in 2017. The Premium Times Center for Investigative Journalism, PTCIJ, had identified some capacity and ethical gaps in Nigerian newsrooms and decided to catch them young.
What they came to challenge fundamentally was the ethical paradigm in the Nigerian newsroom. I think that's something that announced itself in an elliptical sense as part of the challenge of the period that journalism, that this new generation of campus reporters have come to inherit as a tradition and have also moved forward, is one that is breaking those barriers, both of ethics in a very general sense, but also generally of a professional sense. Then, above all, however, the question of idealism, that you have to do this job a little more than just because you needed a meal ticket. And the meal ticket is important, let's not kid about it. But the fact that you also, have an idealistic, to want to do something, to regenerate your society.
For Dakpo and his colleagues at PTCIJ, the Nigerian journalism of repute that brought independence in 1960 helps Nigeria rebuild after the civil war in the 70s and challenge the military in the decade's rule needed to be reignited.
I think to understand the history of the campus reporting project, we have to go back a little bit. One, to the founding of the Premium Times entity itself, and a little bit before it, what I call the 30 years of great drought in the profession. If you recall, a lot of what used to be the great progress and inspiration of Nigerian journalism, we always source that history back to the mid to late 19th century, which is generally called the Lagos Press. This was a press that helped to usher in Nigeria's independence and then laid the foundation of subsequently how press really, in terms of its political and professional behavior.
Dakpo and many critical journalists practiced gracefully during the military regime, but their courage was put to test by an event in 1986. Dele Giwa, the co-founder of Newswatch, was killed by a parcel bomb 2 days after being interviewed by the State Security Service officials. On record as one of the most controversial and unresolved assassinations in Nigerian history, the killing had significant effect on Nigerian journalism.
We witnessed massive jailing of journalists. We witnessed, outright banning of newspapers and radio stations. We saw great migration away from the newsroom. The challenges of really holding a new administration and generally a new, if you like, paradigm shift in governance, accountable, became a big challenge.
Ratification, bias, favoritism, and the likes had all come to test the strength of the noble profession, and this situation continued for years. To surmount these challenges, Dakpo in 2011 founded leading investigative platform Premium Times, and subsequently in 2017 launched the Campus Reporters Project to train the next generation of journalists. The project today had seen over 1,000 student journalists impacted along a systematic approach termed MIT, mentoring, internship, and training.
So basically what we're doing is we're training, we're mentoring, and we're opening up and providing internship opportunities. The training part, of course, is self-explanatory. The mentoring part, to be able to implement the mentoring part, we had to build a platform where they could see, they could showcase what they've learned. So we provided editorial support, we provided guidance, and we ensured that when they put in the work, there's somewhere that they could publish and also draw inspiration from if they are yet to publish. So they could go to the Campus Reporter website, which is campusreporter.ng, and see what other young upcoming journalists like themselves are doing and try to do a lot more for themselves.
Idris Akimbajo, the managing editor of Premium Times, is one of the lead trainers on the project.
The first thing I try to look out for are young students who are passionate or are interested in journalism.
Idris and other facilitators have helped students with burning passion for journalism to successfully navigate the Nigerian media landscape by training them on basic news reporting, data journalism, fact-checking journalism, investigative reporting, media ethics, gender-sensitive reporting, and evolving media business model. After the trainings, which have now been conducted in over 20 tertiary institutions in Nigeria, the students are placed in direct contact with professionals for mentoring and subsequently internship in major newsrooms.
First and foremost, when we set out on this project, the goal was to enrich the media ecosystem. And we're seeing that happen. And it's very beautiful to see because the people we have trained are equipping newsrooms, leading national newsrooms across Nigeria.
From the University of Ibadan to Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, and across all regions, the project has impacted hundreds of student journalists across Nigeria. 4 years down the line, they have different success stories to tell.
When I say Kabir, I see a lot of myself when I was a young journalist. So basically, each time I see him, I just look, wow, that's what I was largely like when I was a student and a young journalist. Passionate, courageous, competent, intelligent. I mean, great qualities for a young journalist.
And everything I do before I pick my pen, before I set out and say, okay, let me go to field, I ask myself, what is the public interest? What is the public good? I want a situation whereby I can sleep with my 2 eyes closed and I realize that my neighbor is living fine. So if I'm able to achieve that with journalism, that's a win for me, regardless of what comes of it. Money, fame, those are not really what matter. But trying to put smile in the face of the populace, I think that's the best thing. Kabir Adejumo is my name. I'm a journalist. I currently work with Human Co as the assistant investigation editor. I think I can trace my journalism practice back to my first year on OE campus, and that was the school was on strike and we needed to come on board, and I felt like, okay, the best thing we need to do is to hold the authority to account. So I started writing as a protest writer. Then by the time I got to Ife, the first 2-3 weeks, I had to join protest, and I got somebody who advised that rather than just writing and get suspended, why not take advantage of all of this and join the ACJID? So I tried applying to be a member, join the local board, so I will be opportune to be a member of ACJID. I wrote to different platforms, but in the real sense of it all, they didn't respond. Why? Because they felt like what we were writing was too radical for them, and so I then created a news platform. I used to be a fan of Channels Television then, so there's this news track they used to do, so I started OAU News Track. So it was 2017, the campus reporter came to Ife to train the student journalists. A friend of mine just told me, oh, a training is going on at New Booker Premium Time Center for Investigative Journalism was around then. I just said, okay, fine. I asked myself, I was doing nothing, let me just throw down, and I joined. And we had a 2-day training on investigative journalism, the best practice of investigative journalism and data journalism, and that's how the journey began with them. For me, very huge. Immediately after the training, I felt like, okay, because for me, I've always loved to write for national dailies, and I felt like Premium Times is one of the top platforms one can actually think of as far as Nigeria is concerned. So I felt, okay, fine. I kept writing, and I was sending to the newsroom. So for me, I was privileged to be one of those persons that, one of the campus reporters that get a report published on the main site, Premium Times. And you know, the CJID came to Ife August 2017, and I think October I started publishing on Premium Times that same year. Truth be told, if there's any initiative I have today that I say, okay, let me delve into, it's basically because I see myself as what's it called, an embryo of CJID, because I just feel like, okay, they go around training, and I felt like all of these things I've learned from campus reporter, tracking of projects, doing fact checking and all of that, I felt there's need for me to actually give back, and when I come back to Ife, let people say, oh, I learned this and we've been able to. So we felt like it shouldn't just be in Ife. Why not just spread the gospel, what we've learned, and it has really been good, because an advantage of it was CJID has a whole lot of projects they were handling. I think the fact checking program gave me the opportunity to even be the first student journalist to get involved in fact checking, and that's, I mean, a year after that, got shortlisted for African Check Award as the first Nigerian student journalist to even achieve that feat. So when you look back and you look at it all, you get realize that everything still falls back or comes back to CJID training, which I was privileged to attend. After I came in contact with CJID Campus Reporter Project, I think I've been able to train nearly 1,000 student journalists, and even beyond, because now we are even trying as much as possible to train mainstream reporters on what and the necessary things we've learned from CJID, and it has been really going fine. And we've also had the opportunity to put something together, a campus journalism beginner's handbook, to guide students, and I was privileged. I approached the publisher of Premium Times, Mr. Dapolonyomi, to put the forward of the book together, and he gladly did. So far, you know, we printed over 500 copies of the books, and you know, we've tried as much as possible to distribute across Nigerian tertiary institutions. The story that interests me most as a student, I think, was the story of Professor Richard Akindele, a professor at the Faculty of Public Administration, I think Faculty of Administration in Ife, who was immersed in sex or mass scandal with a master's student. We tried, that was in 2018, we tried as much as possible to follow the case from the beginning. In fact, we had to trace back to his church, and even got some of the church members who confirmed to us that the lecturer can actually do what he was accused of doing far back. And interestingly, we followed the case from the beginning, saw the suspension of Professor Richard Akindele. It didn't just stop there. At a later end, the school announced that Richard Akindele sacked. He was removed, and interestingly, ICPC showed interest, and Professor Akindele spent 2 years in jail. For us, that's a success on its part. It's not just about reporting. There was impact that actually followed. Remember, we also did a follow-up story on cases of school fee increments in Lautech, and after continuous reports, the management had to reduce the school fee. There's another story in Bayelsa of some NYC guys that were killed. A year after they were giving the family nothing, we looked into the matter, and to a very large extent, the government actually compensated the family. If you look at all of these things, doing all of this as a student reporter, it really means a whole lot, and shows that indeed campus journalists can do all in their best to hold management accountable.
In his 4 years practice as a student journalist, Kabir launched himself into mainstream media in Nigeria and international scene. He has earned several recognitions for his exploits, including being runner-up for the Thompson Foundation Young Journalist Award in 2020, finalist for the Future Awards Africa Prize for Journalism 2020, the Nigerian University Merit Award for Student Journalists 2017, and a dozen of others.
In the real sense of it all, without the CJID Campus Reporter Project, yes, I would have been a journalist, but CJID Campus Reporter Project has made me realize that what really matters is trying to hold people or authority accountable for the masses.
Ire is not just a wonderfully brilliant young lady, but it's someone any good newsroom should wish to have in their newsroom. I look forward to working with Ire in a professional level beyond just being a student journalist.
When we started out, we were just I think 12. But in the 2 years that I was president and also editor-in-chief, we are over 70 now. And they are all doing well. Yes, they are all doing really, really well. Sometimes it's shocking to look back and think, wow, I introduced these people to journalism. Her full name is Iretomwa Dele Yusuf. Iretomwa is a 21-year-old recent graduate of the Federal University of Ekiti. So before I came in contact with PTCID in 2018, I was just a student of English and Literary Studies, then in my 200 level. There was nothing like UCJFOE, nothing like that existed. So that was the first. It was even during an examination period. We were supposed to be reading for exams when I heard the news about an organization called PTCIJ coming to train us and all of that. I was reluctant to take it because I had to study for my exams, but I just decided to go ahead and apply. So I was shuffling examinations with the training, and I did it. And that was the first time I even knew anything about journalism, because to me journalism used to be newspaper, Punch, Guardian and all of that. But then the training really opened my eyes and I knew, oh, this is what I've been searching for all this while. Because I was thinking, I can't teach English and Literary Studies, I can't do this, I can't do that. Let me just study, finish and find out what I want to do. But in 200 level, PTCIJ came to show me the way. And that's when I even first knew anything about journalism. So after that, we started this UCJFOE, and from there, the rest is new. We learned from the PTCIJ training that there is something called the Union of Campus Journalists, and we heard that they had established that it existed in the Obafemi Awolowo University, University of Ibadan, University of Ilorin. That was the first time we were hearing it at the Federal University of Ekiti, because Federal University of Ekiti is a relatively new school. So that was the first time we heard it, and we decided to come together to establish one for ourselves. After the training, I engaged in election observation. Again, that was the first time I was doing that, because that was the first time I even knew that observers usually go to the field for these election day issues. That was the first time, because then I was even under 18, so I could not even vote then. But it was then I learned about election observation. I attended the trainings, I tracked projects for Udeme. Yes, I came in contact with Udeme after the PTCIJ training also. So it was then I knew about Udeme, about accountability and data journalism. Everything was new for me. From 2018 till 2021, I've just been coming across new things, and they have all been mind-blowing actually. For a university that knew nothing about journalism, it was just the student union and their fights with the university. Then a third voice came in and it became real to them. It became real. In fact, I had never even seen the VC in close, the distance was never, it was always seeing him from afar and all of that. But because of journalism, they had to call the Union of Campus Journalists to a meeting with the university and the top people, management, to just discuss. And this, you guys are you are pushing us. You are pushing us. Let us know what you are doing now. Who are you? Explain to us. And then when we explained, then it went well anyway. It went well. It's under the National Union of Campus Journalists Nigeria, that's NUCJ. I established this forum for female campus journalists. It's called Female Campus Journalists Network under NUCJ. So under that, we gathered all female campus journalists in Nigeria together on a WhatsApp platform. And we had to engage them during that COVID-19 pandemic because everybody had time on their end, so nobody had excuses. And we brought people like Shola Lawal, Azizat Adedigba to teach them, real time. People have been campus journalists, but they don't know how it is, how journalism is real time. So we had to show them real time journalism.
Ire Tomiwa went ahead to train hundreds of her colleagues and helped in sustaining the third voice status of journalism in our university. Now 21 and recently graduated, Ire Tomiwa currently interns at the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Reporting.
PTCIJ's Campus Reporter Project has actually pushed me towards destiny fulfillment, because I actually believe that I should be here, and here I am. So thank you, PTCIJ, for this opportunity.
Oge is very, very passionate, self-confident, and brings a lot of talent to the newsroom.
My name is Ogechukwu Pascaline Debunam. I graduated from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, in Anambra State. I'm a journalist. I studied botany from Faculty of Biosciences. Basically, I actually did not want to study botany, so I wanted to study pharmacy. Then I couldn't get pharmacy after pre-science and JAMB, so I just got botany and I went ahead with it. While I was there, I knew botany was never my thing because I didn't like it. And the lecturers were not helping matters, they were just missing lectures, using their old notes, and I wasn't really encouraged. So I went for a seminar in school, and the speaker was saying, you mustn't really work in where you studied, you could just do something else after school. And then he said we should try and find ourselves. So I spoke with my friends. I asked them what they feel I can do. I asked a lot of people around me. So they said I talk well, so I should look for something that I can, where I can express myself, show my skills. And so I decided to try journalism, broadcast, and that was how it started. We were trained on news stories, how to write news stories, how to write verifiable stories, the basic things we need to know while writing good stories. And then I was able to learn, I began to change my writing style after the project. And then aside from changing my writing style, I was able to, I was always conscious. I wanted to seek for more information. I wouldn't just go for an event and they tell me this is this and I go with it. I want to ask more questions, more facts, get more facts and details before I do any story. So it was the impact it had. I was seeking for more details. In key points, I learned that I shouldn't be neutral. I should say the truth when I'm writing my story. I should show a story rather than telling it. I should verify every information I have before telling the public, so I would not misinform the public. And then in subsequent trainings, I learned that I would need data to tell better stories. So I tried to use data to tell stories. and then infographics. And people would like to see videos, multimedia, because multimedia is the new journalism, I also learned solution journalism, where we don't just tell the problem, what are the solutions, what are people trying to do to solve problems. In the next few years, I want to be the voice for gender advocacy in newsrooms, where the thing that guides my journalism practice are the ethics of journalism. And one thing I learned from the newsroom where I am now, not collecting brown envelopes,
Now an agriculture reporter for Premium Times, Ogi authors a weekly series titled Women in Agriculture. She is a fellow of Climate Tracker and the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought.
Without the CJID campus journalism project, I think I'll still be struggling with the Nigerian journalism system.
Very courageous. Kule deserves a lot of commendation. It brings a lot of courage, character, and competence to journalism. I love reading his works. Thanks to some of the things I've learned from the Premium Times Center for Investigative Journalism, and thanks to the relationships I've built with the organization, the networking, the guidance, the mentorship, I think I've been able to amass a couple of laurels to my name in the media industry. My name is Kunle Adebaju. I am a graduate of law from the University of Ibadan. In 2016, the leadership of the Union of Campus Journalists and a few student leaders raised an observation respecting a project that the school management was implementing at the time, which involved the tiling of rooftops of certain halls of residence. And it was our opinion that the project was a misplacement of priority, especially because many of the halls were facing immense rot within the toilet facilities, the rooms, they were congested. There was a bedbug infestation at a point, and so it became the responsibility of the press to write something about that, and that responsibility fell on my shoulders. But eventually, when the article came out and was published by a national daily, specifically Guardian newspaper, the administration was not pleased about it, especially also because it was a time when they were facing allegations and agitations from various unions. So it eventually accumulated in my getting rusticated for 2 semesters following my graduation in 2018. At the University of Ibadan, journalists belong to a body known as the Union of Campus Journalists. So it's a tightly knitted organization, and it was easy to coordinate activities. The PTCIJ event happened, I think, in collaboration with the National Union of Campus Journalists, whose president was a student of University of Ibadan at the time. And I was more than glad to be part of the event. And of course, eventually I did not regret it, because we had a lot of big wigs from Abuja, from Premium Times, come to download their wealth of experience to the students. I still remember we used the Faculty of Arts, and we were taught a lot of basics, from data journalism to the ethics of reporting, to fact-checking, to investigative reporting. And even the publisher of Premium Times, Dr. Oloriyomi, was physically available to guide and mentor us. It was a big deal for us, and it left a very lasting impact on many of us, especially myself. So for the Campus Reporters project, the most consequential report I've done was an analysis of the national budget. So it was just me putting into practice what I've learned from data analysis and visualization. And I had discovered at the time that Nigeria was not investing more than 7.04% of its national budget on, in the educational sector. I also compared what the tertiary universities were getting to what the federal colleges of education were getting. Thanks to some of the things I've learned from the Premium Time Center for Investigative Journalism. In 2020, I was privileged to, or 2019, I was privileged to be flown to Johannesburg, South Africa for an Africa Check Fellowship, which of course is a direct consequence of the fact-checking workshops I benefited from CJID. I've also received a number of awards. I've been finalist for a number of awards, including the West African Media Excellence Award. In 2020, I was finalist for the PwC Award last year, and several others.
Kunle, now one of Nigeria's best journalists, witnessed the worst of victimizations while being a student journalist, but he persisted. In 2018, when the news of his rustication became public, Nigerian journalists and civil society actors mounted pressure on the management of University of Ibadan to reverse the decision. Eventually, Kunle was reinstated and able to graduate. For his campus journalism journey, Kunle says his contact with campus reporter was a game changer.
I've followed her work and she looks very, very promising, I must say.
When I was introduced to the CJID Campus Reporters project, that was when I got to realize that I can actually be a journalist. My name is Mariam Abdullahi. I am a recent graduate of Usman Odenfojo University. I studied literature and English, and I'm currently a journalist. When I started, I've always liked literature, so I wanted to just be a published author. I wanted to write. I love writing actually, but I didn't really think I can spice up my writing, through journalism. So I just wanted to write. That was how it started. So I met a friend on campus. I met Ibrahim Olarotimi, and he was at that time a member of the campus Journalists Association on campus. So he introduced me to campus journalism actually. So I started writing. I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I was just there doing what I like to do, which is writing. So he would tell me to go write, I would write, and that was how it started. So I started writing opinion stories. I mean, that's what most campus journalists do on campus. I came in contact with the CJID Campus Reporters project through a friend. A friend introduced me to it. So that was when I realized that as campus journalists, we can actually go beyond writing opinion stories and dive into something like start writing feature stories, go into proper investigative stories, and then also produce impactful stories, solution-based stories as well. That was when I got to realize that I can actually be a journalist, like practice the profession properly, do other things that the mainstream journalists do. Write feature stories, write investigatives, conduct proper investigative stories, and then it shaped and defined my journalism, career. While we're on campus, I have been impacted, transfer the journalism spirit to some other female students. Quite a number of female students within UDUS, and that's Usman Odenfojo University, Sokoto, as well as outside the campus. In fact, we went to other institutions, in the Northwest to preach journalism to some of the female students. I'd like for them to really focus, very well in the modern institutions, especially the female students. I mean, it was difficult trying to get them to join in journalism because of the mentality they already have. So I would really like for them to target more female students from the north.
While on campus, Miriam won several accolades and helped many colleagues in finding their voices. Today, she continues to advocate for more women participation in journalism.
I just want to say a big thank you to the PTCIJ's Campus Reporters Project. I mean, without that Campus Reporters Project, I don't know where I would be today, but then I am very glad I was introduced to it, and then right now I can practice my journalism properly.
For several reasons, Deji Adekunle, the founding coordinator of the project, believes the PTCIJ has achieved even more than it set out to.
I even think we've seen more impact than we actually expected. Now we've had a couple of reporters, not just a couple, quite a number now, who have left the tertiary institutions. They've gone on to become top-notch reporters in the country already, not just in their newsrooms, but people with journalists of repute. And that's a huge testament to what we've done. We've been able to go far and wide, and we've been able to reach young journalists in many, many institutions. So the impact has been great, not just for our affiliate newsroom, but for the industry as a whole, which is what we try to, which is what we really want to feel.
The project has groomed hundreds of student journalists, making their dream of becoming a thoroughbred professional in a standard SAPS terrain come true. But the journey only just began.
Beyond this point now, of course, we're expanding to sub-region, West Africa. We're going to see more of this, of what we have been able to achieve in Nigeria replicated in Ghana, in Sierra Leone, in Gambia. And we're moving this to a level of getting even the alumni of this program to begin to give back.